Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is that better? Can you hear me?
Now, I would like to call the January 24th, 2023 Longmont City Council regular session. Longmont City Council has returned to in-person meetings, as you know, but if you would like to wear a mask, please feel free to do so. Um, the the council meeting is being live streamed. You can watch it in 3 different ways. You can go to the longmontcolorado.gov online services, agendas, and minutes and pull the meeting up there. You can also watch our YouTube channel at Longmont YouTube. It's also being streamed through the Longmont Public Media website, longmontpublicmedia.org/watch, and also on Comcast channels 8 and 880. May we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Mayor Peck.
Present.
Councilmember Hidalgo Faring.
Here.
Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Councilmember McCoy.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Waters.
Here.
And Councilmember Yarbrough.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anyone wishing to speak at first call, public invited to be heard, will need to add his or her name to the list outside the council chambers, and only those on the list will be invited to speak at the first public invited to be heard. Speakers who do not place their names on the list will have the opportunity to speak during final call, public invited to be heard. And anyone wishing to speak on a second reading or public hearing item, you're asked to add your name to the speaker list for each particular item. And each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address. We need to approve our December 20th, 2022 regular session minutes. So that's been moved by Councilor Waters, seconded by Councilor McCoy. Let's vote. Mine didn't either. Yes, let's verbalize it. All those in favor, raise your hand, and all those opposed. So that passes unanimously. We are now at the agenda revisions and submissions of documents. Are there any council members that would like to submit a document for an upcoming council meeting? Councilor Waters.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. No, I do not have a document to submit, but I do have motion to direct staff.
Of course.
Let me just clarify, Harold, I think between you and Jim, in talking about the royalties that are accruing that would have been paid to oil and gas operators, for those to be used in ways other than going back into funds would require a change in financial policy. Is that correct? I think that was the advice I got from Jim.
I'm
wanna
going to
speak for
have
Jim.
Jim and Eugene jump in this because I think in some of the cases there are legal issues
Well, let
related to case law.
me make the motion,
Okay.
and then you can sort this out later. The motion is to direct staff to bring back whatever changes would need to be made in our financial policies that would allow discretion of this council to direct those $3 million to something other than just reverting back into the city funds. The point here is council discretion to direct those funds and the change in the policy to make that happen, or allow that to happen. I have a second motion after this.
Second.
So that's been moved by Councilor Waters and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez that the $3 million that we have from the oil and gas royalties allow council to have discretion on how those are dispersed. Is there any discussion? Who do we have up here? Councilor McCoy. Okay. Councilor Hidalgo Faring, are you on this or for something else? Okay.
Okay, I would like to hear with what Jim Golden has to say before I vote on any kind of motion. Yeah, I don't, he seems surprised.
It could be Eugene.
Mayor Peck, members of council, Jim Golden, Chief Financial Officer. I'm looking at Eugene as well. I think I guess if you're looking to the Chief Financial Officer for an answer, you can change your financial policies. Is a question, I think, of whether we believe that we can redirect some of those monies from the two, the open space fund and the water fund that own that property and be receiving that. So I'm going to defer to Eugene from there.
Mayor and Council, Eugene May, City Attorney. I'd prefer to address it in a confidential email to you, and I can get that to you later this week.
Everyone in the queue, are you in the queue for this discussion? Okay. No. Okay. Councilor Waters. Whoops.
Thanks, Mayor Peck. When you do that, when you draft that memo, it will be really helpful for me, for you to explain how it would be okay to send $3 million to oil and gas operators, but not to other city needs, right? That would be required that it go back into to the water fund and the open space fund, since it was gonna go to oil and gas, and that we would be constrained, or we couldn't find a way to create the discretion of the council to direct those funds. So if there's a legal constraint, I'll be anxious to know. But if you don't provide it in the email, I'll ask that question here. Why could we send it to oil and gas and couldn't use it for other purposes in the interest of the city? Now, so I have another motion. Should I log out and then log back in?
No, we need to vote
I
on
know,
this motion first.
I know. If there are no more comments, I'll just leave my microphone on because I have another motion.
Oh, okay. Do you have a question, Counselor? Can you turn on your microphone?
Okay.
Counselor Martin.
It may be that the answer is more complex than yes or no. It may be that some of the funds can be redirected. As long as the council is told in this postulated discussion what we have at our discretion or the reasons why not, if not, then it seems like that's something that I can support without, knowing what the outcome of the discussion is going to be. That's why we need to have a discussion. Just understanding that it's not necessarily going to be an up or down thing for the whole $3 million.
Yeah, without playing attorney, I think there are different components. You have property that's owned by enterprise funds, and you have property that's owned by general fund. The general fund's a pretty straightforward answer. If the general fund contributed it, that is a pretty straightforward answer. The question that Eugene has to answer is related to the revenue derived that's owned by properties that are owned by enterprise funds. And the open space isn't an enterprise fund, but it's a separate fund.
So, Eugene, in that confidential email, I would like you to explain the difference, because Councilor Waters said, why would we pay $3 million? But those were going to be royalties that we received that we were going to pay back. So what I would like to know is, if we did not make the contractual agreement to pay those royalties back to oil and gas, where would they have gone anyway from the very start when we got those royalties? Those normally wouldn't have been up to council discretion, would they? So would you address that in your email? Okay, so we need to vote on this motion. Oh, okay, Councilor Hidalgo-Ferring.
Can we put this vote on hold so, until we get the email from Eugene? So that's what I would, because I would like to know, before I vote yes or no, I'd like to know exactly what my vote would implicate.
I guess what the way I understand that is, before we vote on the discretionary funds, we need to know if they are able to be discretionary. So that's up to you, Councilor Waters. This is your motion. Okay. Let's vote. Yeah, I'm not getting it. So this is going to be. Could be. Let's do a voice vote. All those in favor of the motion? So all those in favor? All those opposed? So that passes. I didn't see Shakita's vote. She was a yay. Okay, so that passes with Councilor Waters, Councilor Martin, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, and Councilor Yarbrough as a yay vote, and Councilor McCoy, Councilor Hidalgo-Ferring, and Mayor Peck as a no. Councilor Waters.
Thanks, Mayor Peck. On November 29th, we approved a donation from the Stewart Family Foundation to support operations and development of the museum. That was the provocation for me to work on a resolution I brought back to council for consideration. I moved to direct staff to bring that back. I was asked to delay until January, which I agreed to do. Had I understood then what was going to, how this was going to play out, I would not have agreed then. So given that, I am now making a motion to direct staff to return for council consideration the resolution I drafted that this council has seen, that's been presented publicly for council consideration at the next regular council meeting.
So it's been moved by Councilor Waters, seconded by Councilor Martin, that we bring back his resolution on the, well, it was the museum, a resolution on the museum and how that would be funded. So is there any discussion on this? Oh, let's vote. No. I'm opening it up for discussion. There was a second. It was Councilor Martin. That's where I got confused as well. Is there any discussion on this? Councilor Hidalgo-Ferring.
Okay, and this is just to bring it back for us to vote on. I'm okay with that. Yeah, and I'll reserve the conversation at a later time.
I'm okay with it also, as long as we get, before you bring it back for consideration, because I didn't hear that there was any date certain. Eugene, is there any possibility that we could have that letter before then as well? Because that resolution encompassed all those dollars.
Yes, Mayor, we probably planning on getting it out this week.
Okay,
to the
thank
end of
you.
this week.
All right. I see no other discussion. Let's vote. And once again, I don't have it, so let's do a voice vote. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All those opposed? So that passes unanimously. Councilor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I'd like to add to the revision agenda to ask that we start a discussion to create a community name change committee in the effort to find an appropriate name change for the following city streets: Mount Evans Drive, Mount Evans Place, and Mount Evans Street. This is prompted by the state of Colorado's decision to replace the name of Mount Evans to Mount Blue Sky. I feel that we as a community leaders should not wait until our community members are outraged due to a tone deafness and a serious lack of cultural sensitivity to react. I think the change of names should be appropriate, like when we changed the name of Shivington Drive to Sunrise in 2005.
All right, that's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Hidalgo Faring. It's open for discussion. Councilor Hidalgo Faring. Councilor Waters. Whoops.
Thanks, Mayor Peck. Could you just talk a little bit more about, you mentioned the committee, who would organize, who would chair, kind of operationally, how are you envisioning this motion would be implemented?
I'm sorry.
In the past, I spoke with, through email, Sandy Cedar, and in the past, we had a process for doing that, and I suspect that we could probably, take that process and apply it here. So maybe, Sandy, if you have any input on that, maybe you can give what Councilor Waters is asking for.
Thank you, Mayor Peck, members of council. Sandy Cedar, Assistant City Manager. We went back and took a look, because the last time we did this was with Shivington Drive. You may or may not remember that we did a name change of Shivington Drive quite a few years ago, and we did have a neighborhood conversation with folks. I think it came up several times. We had several meetings that identified the cost of what that might be. We worked with the neighbors, and then we went through that planning process to make that change once everybody had decided that that's really what needed to happen. But there was resident input. There was certainly a lot of conversation about what it would cost those residents to change their address, et cetera. So we do have a process through Community Neighborhood Resources that works with Planning and Development Services in order to make sure that it's a clear process. We'd be happy to bring it back since the motion is to put it on the agenda.
Okay. Okay. All right. So it looks like.
I wanted to say something on this.
Oh, you're all lit up.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I've heard grumblings about some other potential renaming issues. So I would just like to maybe suggest that the motion include review of any particular troublesome names for renaming issues. I'm not sure if anybody else has seen some of what I've seen, but there's some other ones that I've heard that might be coming before the city council, and so maybe having that process play out at the same time instead of having it come up multiple times would be helpful.
Councilor McCoy.
I think that's an excellent idea, and that's the sort of spirit in which this is presented.
So do you want to amend the motion to include that, or you did? Okay. All right. No more discussion in the queue. Let's vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed. So that passes unanimously. So I have, okay, Councilor Hidalgo Faring. Excuse me.
So I do want to make a motion to direct staff to determine exact cost of a multipurpose dome built within an area of 175,000 square foot area, and bring back an amount for ongoing costs. And after discussion with these two departments, Children's, Youth, and Families, along with Recreation Department, what they would need in order to oversee the facility. And that would be my motion. So do I have a second?
Okay, that's been moved by Councilor, Hidalgo Faring to direct staff to look at the operational costs, citing whatever it would cost to get a 750-foot dome, And that was
50,000 square foot dome, yes.
750,000 square foot dome. Or what staff seems applicable and the cost of that.
Yes. I would like to speak to my motion.
Just a moment, it's been seconded by Councilor McCoy.
Yes, yes.
So, any discussion? In the queue is Councilor Martin.
Can
But
I- okay.
Councilor Hidalgo Ferry, go
Before,
ahead.
yeah, before people start weighing in, I do want to speak to my motion. So I had been in ongoing conversation with the Children's, Youth, and Families. I am the liaison to the the Youth Council. And, you know, because this money is supposed to go to youth, I elicited a lot of feedback from our teens and school-age children. You know, as a teacher, we were able to have that capacity to get the survey out to my colleagues, and they were able to have discussions within their classrooms as well, and with the families that they know. The problem that has been coming again and again, and I've seen this happen within our school system, are not necessarily the high-achieving, the kids that have those goals in mind, that they're out there, they're in competitive sports, they're doing a great job. The issue is you have, and this is coming from a personal, I have a son with autism, and he's gotten in trouble with the law in the past, where we need an outlet for kids who have, the system has failed them. You know, that we have failed them in some way, shape, or form. That they can have a connection with the youth center, with people who are highly educated and know how to reach out. You know, we have some phenomenal staff. We just need a space for them to go to. A concern that I've heard from staff from Children's, Youth, and Family is that there's no facility, there's no place. They have the youth center, which is very small. They have, even when we tried to host sister cities, they didn't have the youth didn't have a place to shower. If we build this right, in conversations I've had with Christina Pacheco, we could have a locker room area where our sister cities youth can come out and they can use that space that is our own. The other piece is having the opportunity for our youth center staff to network with kids, to get them out and finding productive play and productive activities for them to do. The issue that I heard in my years of being on youth council is that there's no space. They're having to depend on classrooms or other building facilities. So that was the feedback I received from some staff in that regard. And you know, there's ways that we could go around hours of operation. You know, there's lots of opportunity that we could bring down ongoing operational costs, but I just need staff to be able to have the time to thoroughly research this. In conversations I've had with Harold, he's anticipating, you know, he kind of threw an estimate of maybe 10 hours. You know, I don't want something super in-depth, but just to give us a ballpark figure. You know, I know that, you know, and I'm the liaison to the museum, so I don't want it to sound like I'm not in support of the museum. I am. However, we have some kids, and we're seeing it over and over again with the crime that we're experiencing in our communities, and it's coming from our youth, and we need to help get them on the right track. And Councilmember Yarborough and I really feel that this would be a place, a safe space that we can give them the supports and provide staff that they would need to help them make some good life choices.
Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. First of all, I want to say that the council members Hidalgo, Faring, and Yarborough did an excellent job of making the need case for a recreational gathering, maybe even counseling facility located on the northeast side, and that I fully support both the need and the case. What I don't support is the idea that the conclusion of a dome as the specific format for this place is related to the need case in any firm way. And because of that, I don't think that 10 hours is appropriate. It might be 10 hours to figure out how much a dome would cost, but whether the dome is the right solution and whether it is, the right investment of maintenance costs, all of that is a different thing. And while I think we have a very urgent need for a facility such as the need case described, the dome, we haven't done any assessment of available spaces that could be used in the city. And I'm sure it was not done with perfect information about what those existing spaces are. It just isn't ready to assign that much money to, and especially ongoing costs to. I do understand the urgency of the need. I believe that this should be something that is discussed in depth at the retreat, and that a reasonable and much larger amount of staff time, or perhaps some consulting time, be allocated to it instead, because I just don't believe that it's hasty. So I am not going to vote for the motion in its present form, but I am in favor of the general idea.
Councilor Waters.
Thanks, Mayor Peck. Just to be clear, this is a motion not to bring something back, but to direct staff. Is that correct? Yes. Tonight. It would be more persuasive or helpful if the groups that had been consulted on this would have included our Parks and Rec Advisory Board. For me, this really isn't a question about costs. We have $18 million of a backlog in our budgeted and capital improvement budgets over years that have accrued to the point where we have an $18 million backlog to get Parks and Rec projects out the door or fully developed. For me to vote yes on this, I would have to know that the Parks Advisory Board would put this above, take something out that's already prioritized and for which we budgeted, and to replace something else with this. Because we have the money to do this. That's not a question. The question is, where does it fall in relationship to all the things? Because everything that's in that backlog is at least to some degree in that backlog, or has been approved for the very same reasons that you've offered, for serving the whole community, but youth in particular. So the idea of doing more and better for our kids is spot on. To not have the folks who we've asked to advise us on these kinds of projects, recreation projects, to not even be consulted, puts me in a position to say, I'm not going to vote for this, not because I don't think kids deserve the best we can do, but we've got plenty of money to do a lot for kids. We just have, the reason we can't get that out the door now are staffing issues.
Councilor Yarbrough.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. Can you all hear me? Okay. Okay, so the main thing is, as we asked the first time, is to get staff, we need to direct staff to get the information so that we can see what's reasonable. This proposal is staff recommendation for what they see and what they need, not what Councilor Hidalgo Farron and myself. We have done the survey, we have asked, I totally agree with you, Councilor Waters. We had Jeff Friesner at the meeting. We had Christina Pacheco at the meeting to talk about the needs. And that's where we got the information of the needs for our youth. They need more space. We're not trying to bring something quick, bam, thank you, ma'am. That's not what we're trying to do. We are trying to extend the services for the youth center, for these kids, and particularly in a neighborhood where kids can just really walk to that area and get those services from the youth center right next to the youth center that's already there. And that is why we chose that area. And that's fine. It's open for negotiation. We just need them to give us the information so we can see what's reasonable and with the needs within the center. That is all we're trying to do. And we cannot get past that for some reason. We're not trying to take away parking recs. I think that's a really good idea to have parking recs there too. No problem. We want to work together. It's for our youth. It's not for me, not for her. It's how we can better our community with the youth and provide opportunities for them to make better choices within the community. And that's really what we want. Thank you.
Seeing no one else in the queue, I think that looking at this and putting the cost and services as comparable to a brick and mortar place or expanding the youth center may be much different, much more affordable. And the direction is just to let staff look into it with no timeline. Whether it's 10 hours or 15 hours of work, that's not our call. That's the operations call, staff's call. So I will be voting for this. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? So Councilor Waters, Councilor Martin are opposed to directing staff to look at the possibility of the dome. Councilor McCoy, Councilor Hidalgo Faring, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, and myself voted for. And Councilor Yarbrough, sorry, across the world. So do you need anything more from that, Dawn? Okay, so I have a motion also. I move to allot $100,000 from the Broncos Youth Dollars to LLV, Longmont Latinx Voices, per their presentation and submitted business plan. Okay, so I made that motion to allot that money from the Broncos Youth Dollars to LLV, and it's been seconded by Councilor McCoy. Open up for discussion. Councilor, I'm going to try to call on you, Councilor Martin, but it seems like every time I push this button, it goes to the different person. So we'll see if it works.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. It looks like it works. I have received other requests. One of them came in a timely fashion according to what we directed to, and the person was misdirected, so his proposal was not received. Another person, seeing that it was going to be reconsidered, in fact, two other people, seeing that it was going to be reconsidered, subsequent to the last council meeting where these ideas were presented, also said, what do I do about making an application for this windfall money? If we're going to be awarding windfall money to organizations of residents, we should have some rules. It shouldn't be that you just get it because you were first in line. It shouldn't be that you should just get it because somebody likes the idea. Because frankly, of the three, I only like one of them, and I don't think it's the most urgent need we have. I'd go with the youth center on the east side, frankly. That's what I think the most urgent need is. But I think that we need fairness. We need accountability in the sense that if we're awarding a significant amount of money, we need to have some type of oversight and some thorough documentation of how the money is going to be spent and how the organization that's going to spend it is going to perpetuate. And I don't think, just as I didn't think that an effective requirements process for the dome had been carried out or could be carried out in the amount of time that was suggested, I don't think we have such a process, and I think awarding it now would be extremely unfair. And I don't want to see it happen, so I will not be voting for this.
So, Counselor Waters, before I call on you, I just want to make at our council meeting, and I think it was December 27th, that we put a timeline that applications that would be the timeline for them. Unfortunately, that's not what the paper reported. So when they reported the Bronco money, they did not report what was stated at the council meeting, that we were going to put a timeline for applications. So, Counselor Waters.
Thanks, Mayor Peck. Let me just clarify the motion. Your motion is to actually authorize tonight, not to bring something back?
Correct.
Well, I'm going to vote against that because I might have voted to bring it back. Here's with the specific proposal. I understand. I think I understand what's driving it. The part of the proposal that I'm concerned about is the request for $50,000, $25,000 just to go in a bank account, and $25,000 to support fundraising. So I would ask you, for every nonprofit in town that serves women in need, children in need, safe shelter, you name it, that also needs $50,000 to support their fundraising, or $25,000 to support their fundraising, $25,000 to go in the bank for an endowment. What would be the constraints? What would be the message to them? Should they get in line and come with the same proposal? That's a question. Then I want to make a statement. From my perspective, we don't have much discretion. I haven't gone through 5 budget cycles. I appreciate a couple times late in the budget cycle, we've been told there's some one-time unallocated money. You have discretion as council over what to do with that. But it's generally pretty late, and it doesn't happen every year. It didn't happen this year, but it has happened in a couple of years. When we approved a $414 million budget on October, or whatever our last meeting in October was, we didn't have discretion over a single dollar in that budget. Now, we reviewed the proposals, and the dollars were well spent. I'm not questioning any of that. But what we do is listen and nod, and with zero discretion. For me, here comes potentially, I don't know, we'll see what we get from Eugene, with royalty income, and not speculating, the money from the windfall from the sale of Broncos. I appreciate, inviting public applications or proposals. I just don't understand why we would forego one time as elected officials who are elected to do this, to allocate resources, to give up our discretion to allocate those resources as we think we should. And I understand what you're proposing tonight is that, right? But when it goes to processes and applications and who else gets in line, which is, I think, what's going to happen with this. It should. Every nonprofit in town should come and ask us for $50,000 if we approve that part of this proposal.
So a lot of the nonprofits that you mentioned are under the Housing and Human Services and apply for grants through that. And not all of them are specifically for youth. And that's the difference in that. But for the people in the audience, what LLV nonprofit is asking for, it is also on the basis of what Councilor Yarbrough and Councilor Hidalgo-Fearing are addressing. They put this, and they were talking to me long before the Broncos money came out. The discrepancy in the socioeconomic part of our population, our residents, whose children are not allowed to participate, and allowed is not the correct word, they are allowed, who cannot financially participate in sports, regardless of what sports they are, whether it's swimming or tennis or football, basketball, baseball, whatever it is, male, female, it doesn't make any difference, because of the rising costs of participating in these sports. So what their nonprofit is doing or wants to do is to buy the equipment and then rent it out to these kids so that they will be able to participate. The cost of equipment, the cost of shoes, the cost of bats, balls, tennis balls, goggles, it just escalates. So many of them are not allowed to participate based upon their family and socioeconomic situation. So they are asking for dollars because these dollars are for youth to be able to purchase some of this equipment. They have a place to store it, etc. So that is why I'm moving this forward, because they would like the kids to be able to play this summer. And it takes quite a while to get all of that set up. They would like to do it before May, get it all set up and ready to go. I think it's aspirational. I think it is a good idea. I think it will help our students and our kids. Counselor Hidalgo Faring. Oops. Well, it looks like Mayor Pro Tem's light came on, so.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I would just like to say that as far as this particular motion is concerned, I still have some troubles that Councilmember Waters kind of voiced as well. I'm 100% behind 50,000 for equipment. I'm like 75% behind maybe the fundraising, and then I'm 50-50 on the other 25,000 to just stick in a bank account. I understand. I read the business proposal and the logic behind that. What I don't want to do is make piecemeal allocations of a larger piece of money. So I won't be in favor of that tonight. As I've had conversations with fellow council members, I was frustrated by the last time we had a conversation surrounding this topic, and said that I'd rather just see all $980,000 go to Children, Youth, and Family Services and be done with it. That was my preference, but that's not what the proposals that have come in have been. I've also been a little bit frustrated by the fact that there was miscommunication, I guess, around the timelines, because I did agree that there was some merit to some of the other proposals that came in after the fact. So that's why this continues to frustrate me. And so I won't be voting for this, and it's gonna take a lot to get me to a comfortable place with some of the other proposals as well, which is why I did vote for the allocation of some staff time to get some real numbers surrounding the dome proposal. And I just want to make that clear before we take this vote. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor Hidalgo Faring.
I would like to propose a friendly amendment to drop it to 50,000, that we would support the 50,000. I would
Okay.
rather be able to support something immediate that can get in the hands of our kids who most need it right away.
I'll accept that. Counselor McCoy. Nope. Try it again.
As a second, I agree with that. I think that's a good approach, and I think that I hope that meets some of the expectations of some that were concerned about having this dollars set aside for just putting in a bank account in the
Okay.
future.
Counselor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I do agree with the idea of dollars set aside. I think the objection was for fundraising primarily. That was the really scary part. But I still cannot get past, and even if I am the lone no vote, I will be the lone no vote, because even though I approve of the sentiment and even of the plan, this is not fair. This is being, you don't get to grab money just because it's a windfall. You have to have, if we're going to, grant money to grassroots organizations out of the budget cycle, out of time, for even the best of reasons. Everybody's thinks their own reasons are the best. We need to have a fair and equitable process that everybody understands. And I defend this city's actions vociferously almost all the time, but I cannot defend this when the accusations that are going to come in. So I'm very sorry.
Thank you. Counselor Waters.
Is there a reason why you want to do this tonight as opposed to direct staff to bring something back? So we could consider this at the same time, not for the kind of process we went through, but actually to cast a vote.
I don't know why we would want staff to look at it. I'm confused by that part.
Well, generally, when we're here and we're giving direction, it's generally to move staff to bring things back to the agenda, which is what my motion was a bit ago, as opposed to taking an action. We did receive some materials. It hasn't come through a council communication. It hasn't had public review. No one who cares about the agenda would have had a chance to see this. I'm going to vote no on the motion for those reasons, even though I might vote yes on the amendment. But the process.
You would like to
this
amend
has been,
it.
I mean, from the.
So would you like to amend the motion to direct staff to
Well,
bring it back on
I'll
the
let you
agenda?
do that. That's not for me.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I will amend the motion to direct staff to bring back on the next regular session to consider allotting LLV $50,000 from the Broncos Youth Dollars.
As the second, I support that.
Okay. I don't see any further discussion. Let's vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? So that looks like that passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. We are now on our city manager's report. Do you have anything for us, Harold?
I do actually, Mayor, Council. As you all will recall, when we talked about the potential ballot items that we're going to bring forward in November, we talked about conducting a poll to assess the community's appetite and support for all the projects that we listed. Sandy has reached out to and gotten quotes in terms of doing that work. As we talked about, we don't have any money budgeted for that. And so we were wondering if we could utilize up to $40,000 from council contingency to pay for the polling on these projects. And also wanted to say Sandy's going to get a more detailed schedule out to council in the next day or so, but we needed to, because tonight and then next week we have the LHA, we wanted to see if we could get direction on the council contingency for that polling.
Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I will move what the city manager said. I think we should do that. I would move to allocate the money.
That's been moved by Councilor Martin and seconded by Councilor Hidalgo Faring to allocate $40,000 up to $40,000 from the council contingency plan to put together a survey on the upcoming bills in the legislature. Is that right?
No, this is for the ballot items on the recreation leisure
Okay,
tax
I
initiative.
totally misunderstood that.
And this is to take the items that we discussed with you all and get community feedback. This will be a scientific survey based on registered voters, and so that's why the cost is different in terms of how we're going to do this. So it'll be statistically significant. Valid statistically, sorry.
What the city manager said, I move that. Seeing Councilor Hidalgo Faring.
So I do have one request. So was it last week or the week before? It was last week. The NGLA, the Neighborhood Groups Leadership Association, I had a chance to talk to them a little bit about this process, what would be coming down. There wasn't high interest in, wanting to tap with you all, getting that survey, and they can assist with getting that survey out to their neighborhoods as well. So I think there's a great opportunity for, collaboration there.
So this one's going to be a little bit different
Okay.
in that we want it to be a statistically valid survey. It'll be random sampling of registered voters. And
So I
so
missed
it's
that part.
it's different than just putting out our normal surveys.
Okay,
And so we'll be working with a company that specializes in this.
okay. So, yeah, and just keep me informed. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no, oops, Councilor Waters.
Yeah, just real quickly, thanks, Mayor Peck. Will we have any input into this or get an idea of what their methodology is and the questions they're asking? Because I think what they ask and how they ask it becomes really important in terms of what we learn.
So we actually had a meeting today to talk about the questions we were going to ask and how we were going to ask it. Sandy and Becky Doyle have a template. They're actually going to reach out to the firm once we select them. We will get that information. We did talk about sending that to council so you all can look at it.
And I'm not suggesting we have a
Yeah.
meeting here, but it would be,
Yeah.
if you just want
Yeah.
some feedback or to get an idea, it would be helpful to see the kinds of how they're framed, what the themes are, if there are, and then feedback, we have it directly to Sandy would be fine with me. I'd like to not be surprised by when the survey goes out and people start saying, why that question, or why that, that question, that pattern of questions.
Yeah, definitely, and we will also work with the different, so we have a lot of departments with advisory boards. Timing is going to be a critical issue on this one
Yep.
for us because we want to get it out quickly so we can get the results and then have a conversation with council based on that. So yeah, we can send it via email and get feedback.
And it's safe to assume that the results of that poll or the polling will seriously or substantially inform as we get into a decision-making timeline,
Correct.
What we should be considering as options.
Correct, and why we said up to $40,000 is we also said, we're looking not only at a phone poll, but a mail-in poll, but then also the potential of maybe needing a second one, based on what we get and what we settle on. So that's
We should have
part
done
of
that the last time we polled.
Correct.
Is done a second test,
So we're looking at that, and that we may need more money based on what we're seeing, but that's
Thanks.
the approach.
Seeing no one else in the queue for discussion, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you. So now we're at the special reports and presentations. We do have a proclamation. Do you have any presentations for council?
I do not, Mayor, just the proclamation tonight.
Thank you. So we have a proclamation designated January National Radon Action Month. So a proclamation designating January 1st through the 31st, 2023 as National Radon Action Month in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas radon is an invisible, odorless, radioactive gas that threatens the health of our citizens and their families, and radon is a leading environmental cause of cancer mortality in the U.S. and the 8th leading cause of cancer mortality overall. And whereas the Colorado Rocky Mountain region has been ranked Zone 1, an area with the highest radon potential possible by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and Colorado residential radon data has shown 50% of Colorado homes tested as being at or above the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's radon action level. And whereas any home in Longmont may have elevated levels of radon, and supporting recommended radon practices and policies to reduce radon exposure is important to protect our community's health and welfare. And whereas testing for radon is simple and inexpensive, and identified radon problems can be fixed. And whereas Boulder County Public Health, the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and the American Lung Association are supporting efforts to encourage Americans to test their homes for radon, have elevated levels of radon reduced, and have new homes built with radon-resistant features. Now, therefore, I, Joan Peck, Mayor, by virtue of the authority vested in me and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim the week of January 1st through the 31st, 2023, as National Radon Action Month in Longmont. And I would like to invite Patty Dooley Strapelli to receive this proclamation. Do you have a few words you would like to say? Okay.
I'm Patty Dooley Strapelli with Boulder County Public Health. I'm an environmental health specialist, and I thank you for your time in making this proclamation. Radon is a radioactive gas that causes lung cancer, and lung cancer kills more people than breast, prostate, and colon cancers combined. So it's a serious cancer that is avoidable. And testing for radon is easy, and fixing it is also fairly simple. I appreciate your time, and also thank you for listening. And if anybody has any questions,
Now, would you care to have a picture as we present this proclamation to you?
I
Or-
don't really need one.
Okay. Then I will just present it to you. We are now at first call public invited to be heard. I would like to call Tom Smith up first, and remember that we would like to have your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor Peck, City Council members. My name is Tom Smith. I live at 1049 Champion Circle. Excuse me. This evening, I'm here to follow up on some information I shared with you previously. Particularly, I will address some process issues related to development and annexation that has come up before you previously. Before I start that, I do want to compliment the Jennifer Hewitt Apperson, who's the planner assigned to this project. She's been very helpful, cooperative in providing information to me and a number of the neighbors that I'm working with. I need some help, as you know, getting some answers and information over the last several months to information about zoning and different processes within the city. Very interesting that Councilor Waters mentioned processes just a few minutes ago, and that is primarily what I need information on. I have 4 questions that I'll convey to you. I have them typed out. I will hand to City Clerk Quintana those questions as well as some other background information, and I will leave those to you for some home study, if you would, rather than endure the entire time here in front of the group. The zoning processes really cropped up last week as our neighborhood had a meeting at the senior center. Our informational live stream, I was told, had between 70 and 80 participants a couple of weeks ago. Part of the process challenges, you may know, was that we got our notification meeting and it excluded the time of the meeting and had an incorrect date on it. It took 2 weeks for that to be updated, and we got it, I think, 4 or 5 days corrected before the actual meeting, and that still got us 70 to 80 people. Our live gathering that people were able to get to, and it's increasingly difficult to get a room in the city because of some repairs that Harold and many people know. We had a schedule to get about 35 chairs in it, and we ended up with standing room only, and Carlos at the senior center was able to round up some more chairs for us. But the process of how in the heck did this happen to us kept coming up and was certainly the dominant issue of people in our neighborhood. And the questions that came up were, each of us, or each of the people were asking, were you aware of these? How did this happen to us? And were the changes that were made consistent with what the city council wanted? Is this consistent with the advertising taking place in our neighborhood that is now showing homes for sale, multifamily? We were previously in R1. And did the city council know about the omissions and errors in the proposal? And how do we know if the zoning notifications were done properly?
Thank
And I'll
you,
hand
Mr.
this
Smith.
to the city clerk.
Thank you.
There you go, Harold.
Lance Whitaker.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, my name is Lance Whitaker. I live at 1750 Collier Street, Longmont, Colorado. Apparently, I owe you an apology for last week's outburst. A lot could be said about quitting smoking cigarettes, Last week was not a good week for me. This week's not a very good week for me. But it is National Peanut Butter Day, so you all enjoy peanut butter, and while it sticks to your mouth, you may also be aware that it is one of the few materials that carbon alignment can be aligned, and that's what your fake diamonds are made out of, is peanut butter. I'm glad to hear that Mayor and Council were well versed on the Declaration of Independence last week. Sitting on this side of the podium, though, I sort of feel like Samuel Adams, whereas I want to make beer, the powers that be want me to make rum. I neither want to make rum nor beer, but I do have a whole lot of other friends that, well, we just like to have some fun too, and I hope you reconsider House Bill 191230 in appreciation for Samuel Adams and his fight.
Thank you, Lance.
You're welcome.
Seeing no one else on the list, I would close public invited to be heard. We are now at the consent agenda. City Clerk, would you read the consent agenda by title into the record?
Absolutely, Mayor. Item 9A is Resolution 2023-04, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Longmont and the City of Fort Collins for Flex Bus Services. 9B is Resolution 2023-05, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Victim Assistance and Law Enforcement Board of the 20th Judicial District for 2023 grant funding for victim services. 9C is Resolution 2023-06, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the Second Amendment to the 2021 intergovernmental agreement between the city and the City of Boulder for cost sharing for the use of Overdrive downloadable digital media. 9D is Resolution 2023-07, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving an agreement for economic development services with the Latino Chamber of Commerce of Boulder County. And 9E is Approve One Capital Improvement Program Amendment.
Thank you, Dawn. Do councilors want to pull any items from this consent agenda? Seeing no one, I move that the consent agenda as read. So, Councilor McCoy, was that? The consent agenda was moved by myself, seconded by Councilor McCoy. Let's vote. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? So that passes unanimously. We have ordinance on second reading and public hearings on any item. The first one is A 02023-02, a bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 2.20 of the Longmont Municipal Code related to city departments. Are there any questions from council on this ordinance? I would like to open the public comment on ordinance 2023.02. Seeing no one from the audience who would like to speak on this, I close the public hearing. Can I have a motion on this ordinance?
So moved.
So it's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Hidalgo Faring. Let's vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes unanimously. The second ordinance is 2023-03, a bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 4.12 of the Longmont Municipal Code on purchasing. Are there any questions from council on this ordinance? Seeing none, I'd like to open the public comment period on this ordinance. Is there anyone in the chamber that would like to comment? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. So, can I have a motion?
I move ordinance 2023-03.
So it's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor McCoy. Let's vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So 2023-03 passes unanimously. Let's see where else we have. So we have Dry Creek Business Park rezoning, concept plan amendment, and comprehensive plan amendment. We have three ordinances under this, under item C. It's ordinance 2023-04. Would we like to pass these individually or as a, so we're going to pass them individually. So 2023-04 is a bill for an ordinance conditionally approving the Dry Creek Business Park rezoning from MU-R Mixed Use Regional Center to MU-E Mixed Use Employment, generally located at the northeast corner of Dry Creek Drive and Likens Gulch Road. Are there any comments on this ordinance from council? I'd like to open it to the public for comment. Seeing no one from the public, I close the public hearing on these ordinances. Can I have a motion? Well, that's what I asked. And so that's been moved by Councilor Waters, seconded by Councilor Hidalgo Faring. Let's vote. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So 2023-04 passes unanimously. 2023-05 is a bill for an ordinance conditionally approving the Dry Creek Business Park Concept Plan Amendment, generally located at the northeast corner of Dry Creek Drive and Likens Gulch Road. Are there any questions from council on this ordinance? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing on this ordinance. Seeing no one from the public wishing to speak on it, I would like a motion.
I'll move ordinance 2023-05.
So that's been met, this ordinance has been moved by Councilor Hidalgo Faring, seconded by Councilor Martin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing none, that passes unanimously. Bill 2023-06 is a bill for an ordinance approving the land use amendment to the Envision Longmont Comprehensive Plan for Dry Creek Business Park, generally located at the northeast corner of Dry Creek and Likens Gulch. Are there any questions from council on this ordinance? Seeing none, I would like to open the public hearing on this ordinance. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on it? Seeing none, can I have a motion? Okay, so the 2023-06 has been moved by Councilor Waters, seconded by Councilor Hidalgo Faring. Let's have a motion, please. We did. Let's vote. Aye. All those opposed? So there were no items removed from the consent agenda. Let's take a 5-minute break. general business. And we're having a discussion about allocating council board liaison appointments to the newly elected at-large council member, Sean McCoy. So Dawn, are you going to do this, or do you want me to, or? I would rather you did.
I didn't really have anything prepared to help walk you through. We thought it would be a council discussion. There are the five, the list that I believe you, Mayor Peck, sent me, five that Councilmember McCoy, maybe somebody's willing to give up to council. They're listed in the council com. The Consortium of Cities, Neighborhood Group Leaders, Art and Public Places, Museum Advisory Board, and the Resource Conservation Advisory Board. There are a couple of those, the Neighborhood Group Leaders and Art and Public Places. Those conflict in terms of time, so that might not work out. I didn't know if you wanted to discuss or how you'd like to walk through.
So, thank you. I'm trying to pull it up. For some reason, my computer doesn't like me very well tonight. So, to the public, every time someone comes on the council, they get to be a liaison to our advisory boards. They get to be on the advisory board to our different committees. Councilor McCoy is new, so what I did was ask some of the ones that had the most liaison appointments if they would like to share some of those so that Councilor McCoy could also have some opportunities to serve on those boards. Councilor McCoy, did you look at this list?
Oh, thank you, Mayor Peck. Yes, I did, and I would do any and all of them. I know there's some overlap there on some, and sometimes that means that you have to go to one early and leave and go to the other, or you have to think about going to one month and one the next month, however it works out best. And I can do that as well. If people are against that or like being on something that would have an overlap, then I'd be willing to take the option.
There are five vacancies here. Well, they're not vacant, but they will be, are ready to let you have. That's quite a few for somebody who's working full-time. So, it's on.
Okay. So, and I do notice that a lot of them are mine. The only two that I've noticed that new meetings at work have come up was RCAB, the Resource Conservation Advisory Board. It sounds like, no, it was the Consortium of Cities. Consortium of Cities, I'm just the alternate.
That was by Councilor Martin.
Okay.
She said she would relinquish that.
Okay, so I just wasn't sure if that was for the alternate position or the actual positions.
Very interested in that.
Okay, so yeah, that's not me. Yeah, that's not me. And then RCAB was the other one. NGLA, that there's been occasions where I've had work commitments on that evening. It's not happening very often. I just, I put that out there as a choice. The museum, there's no problem with that for me, so I can still keep with that.
Okay.
So that leaves the Consortium of Cities. Would you like that one? Boulder Consortium of Cities?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Neighborhood Group Leaders Association.
I would be fine doing that one too.
Okay, look at the time.
Yeah, most of these are after, would allow me to get home from school. Boulder Valley's high schools have all gone to 3:55 end times, so that's why then coming back from there is, any time between 30 and 40 minutes.
Okay. Art in Public Places?
I have served on that in the past.
It looks
but that it
like
has a conflict on the 3rd, so it depends on if somebody else, who else has that? Who else was? Oh, Yarborough.
Oh, there she is.
What's your thoughts, Councilmember Yarborough?
I can keep it if it conflicts with your time.
She could keep it if it conflicts with the other ones that you were choosing.
Oh, which I would definitely want to do the consortium. I really did like the art in public places. Yeah, I would love to stay on the art in public places. It's kind of right up my alley.
Okay.
And because I had years before I got in council, Peter Schmidt and I worked to bring a art center to Longmont.
Okay.
And then seems that the
Resource Conservation Advisory Board?
That's in Boulder. It's on my way.
Okay, so you're going to take that one, RCAB,
So I'll take
Art in
those.
Public Places.
Yes.
And the Consortium of Cities.
Yep.
Perfect.
Thank you for this opportunity.
You're very welcome. Thank you, councilors, for relinquishing those so that he can join us in those liaison opportunities. So we are at final call, public invited to be heard. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak at this time? Seeing no one, I close final call, public invited to be heard. We're at mayor and council comments. Do we have any comments from councilors? Councilor Waters.
We received an email, trying to remember from whom, the city has from Erica today, about the city being recognized as one of the top, 1%
Yes.
in the country?
Top
10%. Well, that's pretty doggone good. Could somebody, is there going to be something in the paper about this?
We're gonna talk to him about making a presentation remotely, at the next meeting.
Matt Bennett's gone, so the
Yeah.
Times Call's not going to pick it up anyway. I just think that's pretty impressive, right, to get that kind of accolade for the good work that's going on. So it ought not to go unrecognized in a variety of ways.
Yeah, the award's up in the city manager's office and the administrative office, if you wanna go check it out. It's 11 pounds.
Well, if we're judging by weight, that might be the most substantial award ever. Huh?
Yeah,
Mayor Peck, I'd be happy to lay out a little more
yeah,
detail.
that'd be great,
Okay,
because I don't remember, I don't
yes.
have the letter in front of me,
With the
so go
letter.
ahead.
So you may remember our customer satisfaction survey is conducted by ETC. And what they found was that we are in the top 10% of all cities with respect to satisfaction with overall quality of services, satisfaction with customer service provided by employees, and satisfaction with the value residents think they receive for local taxes and fees. So we're within the top 10% of all the communities they survey.
Why, that just fits right into our executive session we just held on core services. So regardless of what we think, you got an award. Oh, I know. That was just you're right. Councilor Hidalgo Faring.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to update the council and public, anyone who's out there, and share the opportunity that Mayor Peck and I had with staff, with Harold and Sandy and who else was there? Just from staff from LHA, we went to go visit the Arroyo Village project in Denver. It is a homeless shelter. I mean, it houses a myriad of services. It has a trauma-informed design. It was a phenomenal opportunity to see what could be, and what kind of services we could really mirror in our community as well. That place included everything, homeless shelter to workforce housing, a portion of it. So it had 60-bed homeless shelter, a 35 one-bedroom apartment units of supportive housing, and 95 1-, 2-, and 3-bedroom workforce permanently affordable housing in this building. And it was phenomenal. So, I would really like to continue finding out ways that we can incorporate something similar with those wraparound services in our community. And thank you for the opportunity, whoever organized that piece. So I really appreciate it.
That was Molly.
That was Molly, yep. So I would like to announce that there's going to be a peak service open house. This is for our peak service on RTD as well as on Amtrak. It's going to be Tuesday, January 31st from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Hampton Inn in Boulder. Yes, thank you. Counselor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I just would like to wish good luck to all our kids in St. Vrain, Boulder Valley, Westminster, and Jeffco school districts that will be competing this weekend at the at Longmont High School at the Future Business Leaders Conference at Longmont on the 28th. So good luck.
Good luck. So that is the end of council comments. I don't see any more. City Manager Harold, do you have remarks?
No comments, Mayor, Council.
City Attorney Eugene?
No comments, Mayor?
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn? So it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, yell aye. Aye. We are adjourned.